Welcome back, everyone, to the Off the Cuff podcast. Wow, it feels good to be back. We got a 2-hour special or something coming up for you. Welcome, Josh. How are you doing?
I'm alright, mate. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. We're missing one, obviously, because we are not in the UK. We're not in London. We're in DXB, UAE, where Josh has been residing now for quite a while. How's it been, man?
Yeah, it's been good, mate. We were in Canada until early October. Mm-hmm. Came back for a couple of weeks to the UK, that is. And then we came here end of October, beginning of November. So November, December, January have passed. I've been here a quarter of a year. And yeah, like I'm not missing the UK. Missing things about the UK, but I'm not missing the UK.
Yeah, I feel that. That's nice. I think you've been here, at least from my experience, the nice time. Like December, November, December, January.
Yeah,
is good, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a. I think it's a water view because like we came here in May and it was brutal. Like it was brutal. That's the heat for everyone watching. Like it's real hot, and you kind of like. I'm getting away for it this year, like I did last year as well. I actually signed my businesses up here in March last year. We're here for the whole of April, and then as May came and got real hot, that's when we left. It goes a bit from like air-conditioned pod to air-conditioned room to air-conditioned gym back home. So I like to be free. I like to spread my wings and fly away a little bit every now and again. So I will be sending it out again.
Which obviously is sad news for me, as I am just getting here. But I think we'll have a couple of months together before you head off. You head off at May, right?
Yeah, May again.
Cool. So my movements over the last 6 months, I've obviously been residing in London. I'm now very, very disillusioned with the UK. I just simply don't want to be there for various reasons. If I was to be anywhere in the UK, it would probably be London, and London is just a nightmare. Like, I'm really struggling with the gyms, mostly just with driving to and from the gyms, to be honest. Like, the traffic kills me. I'm not the best with my time management anyway, so then having traffic on top of that really kills me and stresses me out. Obviously the weather, and just to be honest, in my opinion, the state of the country is not conducive to the person I want to be at the moment. So I spent 2-3 weeks in September in Dubai, and in all honesty, it was hideous. Like, it was pretty hideous because of the heat, yeah. So we thought it would be kind of get into like a manageable temperature, but it was so hot. And I came here with my partner, who will be moving here with me, and we, you know, we survived. It was okay. Like I will say the gyms, I don't think were as bad. Like I thought the gyms would be hideous, but it was okay. But yeah, just like the general sort of, you know, getting about day to day, it's not great, but it's still, the way I picture it to myself is like, well, I still think it's better than, in my opinion, where I was in London. And I'll probably go into this a little bit more as we talk about it, but my main nervousness is with like how people back home perceive you moving to Dubai. Like,
I was just going to say that, like, for people watching it, we'd probably hear that and think, oh, these guys like hating on the UK. It's like, it's got nothing to do with how everyone else feels. Like, you got to think about our jobs specifically, even more so as professional athletes. We need to be in an environment that you thrive in. And you just don't do that in Bethnal Green in London. Like, you walk in, you look at someone the wrong way, and it's like, oh, I've got to maybe just be careful how I look at that guy. I'm here to do a job and progress and train well and be carefree, and little things like that, they start to irk you. And we've lived that life for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So for me, a big part of it was just the releasing that little bit of anxiety about performing well. And if you want to go create that environment and do that environment in the UK, where are you going? Rotherham?
Yeah, exactly.
Not anyone in Rotherham, but doesn't quite compare to Dubai. I don't really want to move to Rotherham, right?
Yeah. I think that's where I got to with it. Like, as I say, for me, if I was in the UK, it probably would be in or around London. I'd probably move. I don't have anyone up north. Like, my family and people that I know, no one is up north, so I wouldn't go up there. If I could pick up and move everyone to a certain area in the UK, it'd probably be like Ultraflex Durham, because Durham's quite nice.
Yeah,
the gym's real good.
That's a nice idea.
Maybe house prices are a bit cheaper, but that's the other thing as well. Like, I feel, you know, I'm in a position now I never, better than I ever dreamed of being, and I just still feel like I can't get on in life in the UK. I still can't afford to buy somewhere in London that I'm happy to buy. I'm still renting, and for the information of everyone who maybe looks at Dubai as like, oh, you know, snooty step up, like, my rent here is going to be the same as in London, just so you know that. Like,
I spend less. I've been here for 3 months now, done my expenses. I spend less than in the UK.
And there we go.
in London specifically. Of course, there's people around the whole country where it's a bit cheaper, but yeah, rent is literally the same. Shopping, supermarkets, the same. The thing that gets you is the beach clubs, it's the pies, it's drinking. I'm a bodybuilder, bro. We don't do that, you know. So it's not a big deal. And guess what? With the money that I save through tax, of course, like I can't hide away from that. It's a big thing. Like I can go out for a drink every now and again, and if it is twice as expensive as London, which is probably not, it's probably a little bit more, if that.
Yeah.
It's fine because I've saved a bit more money.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think, as I say, for me, it just got to a point where environment is the big one, and as well, you know, as a bodybuilder, Dubai is incredible.
It's a hub now.
It's a hub now. Like you say, it's like it's not in the UK. I'm kind of isolated. I'd be lucky if I see someone else, you know, in the gym that I maybe want to network with or do a video with or share ideas with. But here, I walk in there every single day, and there's someone who's going to make me better. You know. And obviously, it's a shame that you're not going to be here, but I know that you're going to be here when you are in the UK. So, you know, when prep's over again and it cools down, we'll be back together and hit a few sessions in this week, and it just makes a world of difference. It makes the whole process
makes such a difference.
So much more enjoyable.
And even being here while Joe's not been here, like I've been training at Binos, occasionally at a dungeon as well. Binos, Andrew Jack trains there. I see a top 6 Olympian every day. There is Beirut trains there. It's like a top 22 on 2. There's like Olympians day to day that you see, which is just unbelievable to train around. You go to the dungeon, like you walk in, there's bodybuilders everywhere. Like the owner, Abdullah, amazing guy, proper bodybuilder, right? You look around, you've got Corey, you've got all these different guys that are proper bodybuilders, right? You walk into Muscle Works, you don't always see it. You walk into Crayford, you don't always see it. Like I love those gyms for what we had, but you don't always see it. Even Rotherham, you see more bodybuilders in Rotherham. But like you don't have the same. I don't think
there's many Olympians in there. Though.
Yeah, you don't have the same caliber, which is very unique to very few gyms in the world, and it just so happens to be that because of the lifestyle that Dubai have created, like they hover around here.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm sat here like justifying, you know, my move to Dubai, which I really shouldn't have to do.
That's true.
To anyone. But also, I imagine if you are listening to this, you probably are pretty supportive of it. I'm sure you've seen the recent physique updates. You know, I've only been here a couple of weeks, but prior to that, obviously, I had Bali Pro Camp, which I'm sure we'll speak about. But like, I'm the best I've ever been, and if I'm already the best I've ever been now, like as I take that into prep, it's going to be a fucking whole different ballgame. I'm very confident of that, so I'm super excited to be here.
Also, by the way, the last time we were on this podcast, you were going into CrossFit, weren't you?
Oh my god! No, I think I just actually backed out of it.
But
okay. I was saying to Josh on the way here, I listened to our last episode, and it was the Christmas special, and I was just sort of re-jogging my memory for where we were all at. And for me, it was my testosterone was at 2.2. I think it's now at 202, which is great. So if I'm looking a bit bigger and sounding a bit deeper, that might be the reason why.
Androgens to the voice box.
But yeah, so loss has gone on, man. We need to talk about like the last. It's actually been a whole year since we've been on, and then some.
Yeah,
a year and a month.
It's been a long time. I was at least with Cal. You were with no one at the time. You were just kind of getting back into it, finding your feet. I think you were doing your own thing, actually.
Yeah.
I'm now with John Jewett. Anyone out there knows John. He's huge in the industry. I've been with him for 42 weeks now as my check-in form.
Wow.
My check-in form showed me on Thursday. So it's been a good time. And I'm pretty much I've been doing this whole time, right? Bulking, cutting. I'm just in the peak bulk phase and just focused on one thing, and that is standing on stage with something that I'm proud of, and doing it with everything in mind of the previous years and how to improve those things, from peaking, from posing, from becoming a bit more of a flawless athlete. And I don't mean flawless like visually, just flawless like there was no stone unturned, there was no vacuum hold after cardio missed, there was no ab session carved. And I've seen you post about that recently as well. Like that's something that I definitely it just gets away from you, man. I don't know what it is about that, but you just become content, and then I think the people that don't become content are the ones who ascend quicker. So I think I just needed to adopt a bit more of that mindset.
100%.
I've been doing that.
I think there's because we're obviously I have the experience of going from men's physique to classic as well, and a big reason that I'm going to be doing that is because I know how hard it is. So you know that like the posing, the vacuuming, the conditioning you have to get into, all this stuff. Like I know if I miss it, I'm going to be subpar again. And I think I've been quite vocal with like my like deeper inner reasoning for competing again and for and what I want to achieve for myself this year, and that is above all is just to enjoy it. And
I feel like you lost that a little bit.
yeah, I lost that massively in the last two preps, and that's why I had to pull a plug on it, because I'm not enjoying myself anymore. And on top of that, I'm probably causing some damage, definitely to myself and to relationships or whatever it was. So I'm excited just to enjoy myself, and I know that the way to enjoy myself is to. This is a really like profound thing that I discovered at Pro Camp. Spent that whole week and I had no stress, like zero stress about anything that week. The reason was, I think, or one of the big reasons was because I was being the person that I want to be. The words escape me, but it's a Jim Carrey quote about depression, and it's something about like you're depressing yourself or whatever it is. And I think a lot of the time I'm my own biggest problem, my own biggest critic, because I've set these high expectations, but if I'm not acting them out, then I feel disappointed in myself. And I know that if I do leave no stone unturned with this prep, I can't get on stage with any guilt or upset or look back on the result or anything. So, my previous results, I say this a lot. Like we actually had a conversation the other day when we went to Hooker. Like
So there's a shisha shop, by the
way. No hookers, shisha spot. Like the last time I felt like that, I think, and I would have given my life to achieve a competitive goal was when I wanted my pro card, and I'm sure you can relate to that. And I would have done everything, and I did do everything, and lo and behold, it's the happiest I've ever been on stage. Aside from the pro card winning, which is incredible, like I look back on those photos, and it's the last time when I look back, and I was like, I'm really, really happy with how I looked. So that is the energy. I'm in my give it your all arc this year, and see what happens. And like I say, I want to have fun with it. I've said to you, I'd love to be in first call outs this year. That would be a real nice cherry on top for me. But most of all, and I think if I do those two things, one, enjoy it, and two, leave no stone unturned, I think I have every opportunity of being in there. So.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. Yeah, it definitely shows. I think everyone watching, because I consume your content as well, especially like as last year I was in Canada for a long time. You were in London, like naturally, like we just didn't talk as much, right? We don't like connect as much because it's what happens when you move different places. So yeah. I consumed a lot, and I saw a lot of what you did, and it was, I think, especially, well, I told you in Bali, but I kind of meant that across the last few months / half a year, watching you go through those different cycles was pretty evident. It's really, it's really, really nice to see. Like I can see that you ooze it. I can see your content. I can see that the mindset it's on fucking point, and it's in a place where it needs to be able to take everything else to the next level. And it's been nice to see that as a consumer. I'm sure these guys can see it as well.
Yeah, feels good, man. Feels good. And like the last, I guess, as we come into this year, the last month, January, has probably kind of been not the ice on the cake because we're not done yet, but it's been a nice that's been a nice way to really see that come to life and almost give the that fire again to kick on this year.
A little re-injection.
Yeah, man. But excited for your. Are you excited? How do you feel about moving into Classic?
Oh, I'm terrified. Yeah, just the doubt's the hard one for me for sure. Like going into the unknown. I'm not very good at the unknown. That, like you said, that pro card achievement being the peak. I said it on a podcast actually. Like that was. The best moment of my life, like to this point. That was 3 years ago, and you're kind of like
chasing that high.
Yeah, you're irking for that high again. And when I'm stepping into, I'm not very good in the unknown, so when I'm kind of creeping into that, and the doubt creeps in, I'm like, I can see it. Like I wouldn't do it if I can see my potential. But just the doubt creeps in. That's the hard part for me. It's like, am I going to be big enough? Am I going to look good enough from this side? Is it going to be this? Have I improved enough? And that's the hardest thing for me. So I'm pretty terrified. I'm excited to know that I'm taking my step forward into something that I want to do. But until I'm hoping I can be at peace a little bit earlier. But until I get at the moment, it feels like until I get my feet on the ground and have a look at that person there, and I know where I stand, it's going to be a little bit hard to get rid of that fear.
And what was the final push or the main reasons for you to say, okay, I'm done with men's physique now. It's time to Classic?
If I'm honest, I just realised I can't achieve what I want to achieve in men's physique. I think Actually, I liken classic to wellness. Weirdly, any wellness girls out there, you just got it. Like, you just are one of them girls who's wellness, right? You can't. I think it's very hard to grow into wellness. I think if you haven't got a classic physique, you can't like make one that well.
Yeah.
Like, you can't like just do more arms and like vacuum holds and suddenly you just like changed your whole physique. You kind of just got it. I think that's a bit similar to men's physique. I think men's physique, a lot more people can do it. But I know a lot of those top 6 of those Olympians, like if they threw a men's physique, that is, if they threw a double bicep or a rear double bicep, I think I could probably beat them there, but not like just stood hands down. So I just realized I was not going to achieve it. And what made me realize is I did that, did one show last year. And never ever would I think of doing one show because so much can change show to show. But I knew that no matter what, how good I would have come in, I wouldn't have won that show. And I knew, and this is no disrespect to the people who beat me, I came third, the 2 people that beat me, I knew that they would be like, no disrespect, I knew they'd be last in the Olympia. 3rd, 4th call outs, whatever, and they were. I just thought if I'm not scratching close to them, like my dream is way further away in men's physique, and I just haven't quite got it.
What show was that? The UK?
Yeah, it was the UK one.
And it was Elton and Tyler?
No, that was the year before.
Oh, okay.
I actually beat Elton. I don't think Tyler did it. It was a Brazilian guy, an Italian guy. And they were like bigger than me and fuller than me, but they weren't like super aesthetic. And I just thought, I'm so far off like that. I need to just refocus, take a year out and really like focus on growing. I mean, even if I took a year out and grow and improve X, Y, and Z, like, I still don't think I got it in men's physique. But the classic, just it was always the thing. And the reason why I never did classic was because of the size issue and just for it being so far up the ladder. I was like, wow, there's no point me getting there now because I'm not going to compete for 5 years. So in that 5 years, I took a year out, competed the next year, wasn't big enough, took a year out, competed, and then again took another year out. So yeah, I think it was inevitable. I was always going to end up there. That was just a final push.
Yeah. And was it like you finished that show and you were like, okay, I'm done, like it's time for classic?
Yeah. And actually, like, you know what, the previous year I came off the same stage and like very similarly, like, I wasn't enjoying it. I fucking walked off and was just like, get that fucking camera out of my face. Friends would come up to me.
Face.
Yeah. Friends would come up to me and be like, "Oh man," I'd be like, "No."
That was in the UK.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I was like, "Don't talk to me, Ray.
I remember.
Leave me the fuck." And I just, I had to reflect hard on that point.
Yeah.
And I was just, I realized that I never wanted to be like that again for number one, because you got to be grateful for everything that I've got anyway, regardless of that. And I needed to just reassess what I thought my potential was and what I thought I was going to do. I think maybe because that was my first year and I had already got that first call out in, I can't remember where it was. Oh, Vancouver. I got second.
Crazy.
Which is crazy. And also, the guy who won wasn't going to do it the week before, so I could have been to Olympia. Who knows where I would have been then. But I think that just, again, the immaturity, the naivety, just, I was like, I'm going to fucking win England. If I can do Vancouver, I'm going to win England. And I just got like 6th or something, right?
Yeah.
And just naively wasn't mature enough, and I just crumbled a little bit. So I didn't want to do that. So I knew that it's like really realistic expectations. I said, like, if I'm not crushing this, like, fine for a top spot, I think this is done. Because I know who's going to do it, and it's not going to be any Olympians. And if I'm not competing with Olympians, I'm not going to be an Olympian. So I just kind of came off, and I was content. I was pretty happy coming off, knowing that I'm done. I'm done with this category. Yeah. Even though I didn't achieve it, and I knew I was moving on, and I knew stage was going to be 18, 20 months away, I was like, nah, this is the right decision. So
when you know, you know.
That's such a big thing. You know what? When you know, you know. Just something just like ticks, doesn't it? And you're like, okay, this time.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. That's exciting. I'm very excited for this year, obviously, because this will be quite momentous, because we will most likely meet on stage again for the first time.
Side by side.
I think it was like 2016.
Amateur Olympia.
IFBB Diamond Cup.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
We're both natural.
2016, that is, yeah.
Goated.
That's just unreal, man. Like, oh my God, content creators, get at us, because there's going to be some madness that you can create with that. What a story, man. I don't know if there's any other stories like that. Maybe there are. Maybe I'm just in my own little bubble, but I'm so excited. Like, it just adds to it for me, like the fact that I'm gutted that you're not going to be here, going through it, the actual trenches together, as people like to call it, as we go through prep. But I know that we'll be, on the end of the phone probably quite often, and oh man, it's going to be sick. And I will almost certainly try and get out there for a bit when it's all the heat's getting a bit too much in the kitchen for me. But yeah, I'm very excited for that, man. It'll be really, really cool. And again, I kind of know, and I've been probably quite vocal with maybe the mistakes I made before and the things that I've needed to work on. What have been your main kind of areas of improvement as you've gone into like your first classic off season?
What do you mean, physically or just everything?
Go everything, but start physically.
Physically, back, lower back, hamstrings, glutes. Glutes always get soggy bum, classic soggy bum when I do prep. Also got to think about the legs in general. My quads always grow, but yeah, lower back thickness there. I've always been pretty even, and then I realized when I was throwing rear double biceps that my back sinks away, especially the lower back. So a lot of lower back focus, a lot of glute focus, a lot of hamstring focus. The rest of it just kind of grows, which is kind of helpful. And then just like, again, just trying to not get hold up on, and this is like the mental side of things, trying to not get so focused on like the pressure of people saying, oh, you're going to be for example, people commenting, I think, future Olympians, and that's quite a lot of pressure to put on me, son. I'm like, I appreciate it, but like, let me just focus on getting on stage and nailing it. And then a bit like you, I think, while I feel like I never missed a meal, I never missed a training session, I never missed cardio, I never missed 99.8% of everything that gets you the result. I think those 0.01s of vacuum holds, cardio, calves, abs, there's little things that slip through the net. Like, could I sit here and say like I genuinely, or optimal food setup, did I one day have a few things that I shouldn't have done? Like, in an off season, did I have more takeaways than I should have done? I'm like, you know what? Yeah, probably. So I think there's a lot of things that I could dial in on, and I've been trying to just focus as much as possible on those little things.
Yeah, I almost think it's actually, it's not even up to the 100%. It's actually, impossible, but it's taking it from the 100 to like the 110. It's that like, it's the stuff that maybe other people aren't doing, or just at this level actually, they just are doing it. Like, it's not getting to the gym and having to rush through abs or calves. It's not missing a set off here and there. Something for me has been massive, has been, I think, particularly with like the length and partial stuff coming in, and then even more so from training with, like at Pro Camp last week or the other week, like just actually, I'm very, very confident in my intensity. I think we train, I feel like we train like pros. Like how I would watch a pro train, I'd expect it to be like we train, which is, complete control, kind of mechanical failure, to a point where like your mechanics break down, your form breaks down. Okay, well that's my set over. I think for now, or more recently, as the more length and range bias stuff's come out, and also, as I say, just watching other people's intensity, I think there's some stuff that we can take from that in terms of like on the lats or on the calves or on the quads or whatever it is, these body parts whereby you can kind of safely go beyond failure on your own. Like, I'm going to take that now. I think that's probably the difference for me. As I say, I would
shout out Sam Sulek.
Shout out Sam Sulek, yeah, like Sam Sulek. I would perform, sets until my form breaks down, and then I call that a day. But actually, I think
let's beyond.
There's more in there. Like, I would stop a set of calves when I can no longer do a full contraction. But now we understand that, it's going to be heavily length and range biased, then, well, I'm going to pump out some length and partials in there, and maybe my whole training will go to length and partial. But that's been a big one for me, I think, is whether I'm on my own or with someone else, is pushing past that point of failure. So that's been a big one for me.
Should we talk about that training a bit?
Yeah, man, let's go.
Because I'm intrigued. So I'm at the point where I've been training like I've been training, like we used to train. Not that it's too dissimilar, but like the concept of like moving volume, RP. I don't know if you do that, length and partials. That same, I guess JP kind of coined it, right? Failure, hard as you can, 2 sets, and then like just weight on bar as your volume driver.
Yeah.
Mechanical tension type of thing. I changed a little bit with John. maybe like going from a 10 out of 10 physically can't move that bar anymore to a 9, and then I'm tacking on a couple more sets. Like I'm doing more sets in general. So I definitely feel like I responded a little bit from that, but I guess yours is even more different than that.
Yeah.
You know? And I think I'm pretty intrigued I'm intrigued to try it one day for sure, but I'm intrigued to hear like your take on it after doing 5-6 years of what we used to do, hammer to the wall, to maybe being a little bit more tactical.
Yeah, my training has changed quite a lot, and obviously since I guess from my return to bodybuilding, so like I say, wind it right back to when we did the last podcast, I was just kind of finding my feet again. Then obviously I decided, okay, I'm going to compete again. I'm going to go assisted. It was at that point that I sort of planned out my training myself. And it was very much.
You were getting a bit of help with that, right? Was it
no, initially it was just me. So initially I pulled together a split. It was like a pretty heavy posterior focus, like 3 back days a week, and then like a push and a legs, or two pulls, 1 posterior, one push, 1 legs. And then I was like, okay, I'm really confident in doing this, but there was just something in my head that was like, I just want to get a little, a bit of information on that. So yeah, I kind of consulted with Kuba for a bit and asked him his opinion on my split that I pulled together. He was really happy with it, to be fair. He said, yeah, by the most part, I'm really good. He just said, you're a really advanced trainer. You don't need to be doing this much volume. Like, you'll smash yourself into the ground. Oh, okay. So he actually pulled the back sets away, and I was like, okay. So I followed that for a bit, and then I realized I just missed being coached, man. Like, I don't think I've definitely not covered this on this podcast. I've definitely covered it on YouTube though, like the whole gluten intolerance thing.
Oh yeah.
So I was obviously seeing that my lipids continue to be out of range, and I was like, why? Why is it that I've just gotten back in range, having come off everything, been back on for 8 weeks, and they're already out of range? I'm doing everything that everyone says you need to do. I'm doing the cardio, I'm taking the supplements, my diet's good, all this stuff. And I was like, what is going on? So obviously consulted with Dean. That was really, really helpful. Basically found out I was diagnosed I'm gluten intolerant, not to the point where I eat bread and my stomach's, in the bin, but just the fact that it's like acutely impacting my blood markers and my liver function, which is really interesting. But I kind of realised as time went on, I was like, okay, I'm probably coming to the end of this now. Maybe my risk profile is a bit higher. Who will I work with that just has the knowledge to deal with these health complications and isn't just going to say, oh, just take more red yeast rice or whatever, So I reached out to Joe Jeffrey, that is. Shout out Joe Jeffrey. So Joe's my coach now. I've been with him. It's coming up for 4 months, I think. So we're coming about to go into our 5th month, maybe. It's been over 12 weeks, yeah. So into our 5th month. And of course, the main consideration was that, okay, training's going to change here quite a lot.
Was that a reservation to begin with? Like, were you like, oh, I'm a bit unsure, or were you like, I'm ready to do something different?
It wasn't a reservation, because when I sort of reached out to him, it was a conversation. It was a collaborative conversation initially, and he was very much like, look, I know you train this way. I know you are good at training. Clearly, I'm not going to throw you in the deep end with like fucking loads of reps in reserve and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, cool. So we're probably going to come at it with a bit of a balance. The things that I did really like to hear from him was like the specialization box. So we were completely on the same page with like abs, calves, and back needs some serious improvement. Chest, delts, arms, pretty much maintenance, like just chilling, and then legs. Legs, I think, probably would have been a focus, but then like we did like 5 sets a week and they're growing, so it's like, okay, cool. So over the last few months since starting with Joe, like, to give you the headlines, like at one point we escalated my back sets to like 34 sets.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. I was thinking, how are you surviving that?
Yeah, so that was not just that was back sets on top of, and then there was like intensifiers on top of that. So Myo rep sets, which is basically like a rest pause, or a rep match set, which is a really cool technique that I'd recommend people do actually. So you say you have 3 sets, your rep range is 10 to 15. First set, you set a target, so you go to failure straight set. Let's say you get 14 reps. Set 2 and set 3, you have to hit 14 reps as well.
But you can break
on the same rate, on the same weight, but you do rest pauses.
Wow.
So just a nice way, really, that I've seen is so when we look at the data, these things aren't special. Myo rep sets or rest pause sets are not special when equated to straight sets, but what it allows you to do is get more work done in the same amount of time. And you're accumulating more fatiguing reps, more stimulating reps, more effective reps, all that good shit. So, and of course in there as well, there might be length and partials like mix in the mix as well, which again, like, I've spoken enough about this. Like, we see the data now, it's pretty crazy. So that's probably been like the biggest headline. So for 3 months of like pushing, we did the posterior specialization, and I can confidently say, and I'm not very good at doing this, like the progress is speaks
How
for
hard is
itself.
it to do that before that? I mean, I've been the same as you. Like, it's hard to look. I can kind of see the difference, but for you to go, there's difference.
Yeah.
12 weeks.
12 weeks.
That's mad.
It's nuts.
What?
It's nuts. And, you know, it's the sort of thing that you want to see because from June or July, whatever it was, to the end of the year, like, I put on like 20 kilos. And obviously I went from natural to assisted.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you'd hope to see those improvements. But I think I regained it and then some, like a good amount as well. So that's been really cool. And I think that for me has just been like, oh, fuck, this shit works. So that's been the first block, and I sort of said during the last check-in, I was like, mate, I think we've not completed posterior specialisation, but I was like, with 3 months to go to prep, I said, should we change the focus a bit here? Because I think we've done what we set out to do in that time period. And he was like, totally agree. So he's just actually sent my new meso through, which is looking hideous. So I actually think now that my legs are almost looking like they're lacking a little bit from the front. So the last block obviously was like hamstring block and posterior, so like back, lower back, etc. I think now the quads need to look like they need to be just edged forward a little bit. And Joe has a really interesting, almost like artistic, meticulous way of looking at the physique, almost like you are. He speaks about things that I've never heard people speak about before, but like there's almost like rules to a physique. So when you hit a front double, like your lats should be in line with your quads. And mine weren't. My quads overpowered my lats from the front and the back. So now he's like, we need more lats. And now it's like, okay, now they've stepped forward, so now let's bring the rest forward. And there's a consideration for me as well, I think in prep, like definitely that last prep, which again could be down to fatigue management. My quads just like wasted away, like they look like there was nothing left of them. So I'm kind of interested to push that forward a little bit, to not get into prep and be like, oh, they're flat, when actually it's just like they just need more muscle. So I think that's like a bit of a safety net for me, is like let's hammer a bit more on the quads now. So yeah, that quad specialization has come in, and I think quad sets are starting at 9, which is quite a lot for me. Like,
yeah, that's a lot.
Like 5, 6 for me before, so that'll be quite a lot. And the split is, I believe, like pull, lower, upper, rest, upper, lower. So everyone, upper, lower is not just for beginners. I'll be doing upper, lower as well. And yeah, it's still a pretty hefty prioritization on posterior, but now quads are really coming into the mix, and I don't doubt that's going to fuck me up, to be honest.
So do you have RP then?
So the way we run in terms of RP or reps in reserve is it's almost like a kind of escalates over the weeks. So your first week you go in, and I think I actually fucked this up when he first sent me the plan. He was like, "Did you follow the rep scheme?" And I was like, "What rep scheme?" So the first week was supposed to be you train up until a point whereby your rep slows down by 50%. So the last rep of your set, 50% slower than the previous. So let's say you do 7 reps at a normal pace, and then your 8th rep slows right down, your set's over. So you're probably at 2-3 reps in reserve on that movement. I fucked that up to start with, and I only really got it the second time round. I said to him, week 2, I was like, bro, I'm feeling pretty bad. He was like, you following the rep scheme? And I was like, what rep scheme? So yeah, I fucked that up. Anyway, that's how it started. So more taxing movements you'd end the set at kind of 3 reps in reserve. So like a deadlift, a hack squat, a leg press. Less taxing movements, you go sort of 1 to 2 RL. I don't think that's the approach for everyone, but then that's the art of coaching. He knows that's how I've trained. He knows I've got results doing that. So that's how we run. From then on, that will escalate. Either that will escalate or your volume will escalate. If the intensity escalates, he just says, right, okay, you've done that well this week, and now we know how well recovered you are. Just progress. So now you go in and you just beat your numbers, right? So you're progressing again.
By how much?
Just like beating it by a rep, or increasing the load by like 5% or something like that. So like a micro load or whatever, maybe 5 kilos aside. And then once you've kind of, I guess, hit that threshold of like, okay, I'm training at intensity now, at that point it's then a feedback mechanism on how's your back feeling as the week goes on, how are your legs feeling, okay, a bit of soreness but quite well recovered, okay, cool, more volume. What we're finding that my hamstrings could take an absolute beating, like they were getting up to like 15, 16 sets, and my back was just not really getting sore, like, and I was just training, right, more sets, and then
still progressing.
And that's how you get to the point where you're suddenly on 34 sets of back, because my back was still progressing and still recovering, but then it was quite quickly you kind of drop off a cliff. So I deloaded. I've had 2 deloads already in 13, 14 weeks of working with it.
Yeah.
So now you can see, okay, now it's a trade-off of like, continuously pushing for however many, I don't know how
Yeah.
many weeks you go without deload, 12, 13, 14, 15. So you can quite see that trade-off. But then also, like, I don't know, if we added the sums up, have I got more work done in those two periods of 10 or 11 weeks of work?
Right.
So that's been the really interesting thing. And the thing that the point at which it really twigged for me, you know, the first sort of 4 or 5 weeks, I'm just sort of, you know, excited. It's novel. I'm looking forward to it. The point when it really twigged was when I had this first deload, and the deload is. I'm giving away all the secrets here. I'm sure you won't mind. The deload schema is you do 3 sessions at basically 50% intensity. Which what that means is you go in, you reduce all your sets by 1. So if you're on 2, you do 1. If you're on 3, you do 2, and you use the same load on your sets, but you just complete half the reps. So if you got 10 last week, cool, you do 5 this week. You do that for 3 sessions, then you have the rest of the week off, and then you go back in at kind of a D volume, and that's where probably
So it's like a 2-week type.
That's probably where it can feel quite slow. But you know, Joe speaks about that, and actually I've even seen Kuba speak about it. Is that, like, you know, similar to everything else? If we did a fat loss phase, which I've just completed, would you go back in at 5 your peak calories?
Yeah, of
No,
course.
of course you wouldn't. You'd steadily ease back in, and as with anything, drugs, food, and now training, it seems, you get the most out of the least. So you go in back at a kind of almost the first week again. So your volume, your volume kind of rises. You deload, and then your new set point, your new start point is just that little bit higher than
it
what
was before.
and then you climb up again.
What happens in that
Climb
5
up again. Fucking no. I guess you have a prep.
Baseline at 36.
I guess you have a prep before then.
Okay,
so,
yeah, of course.
And then obviously, you know, you have a big reset. So, and as I say, the moment it really twigged for me was after that first deload, when I can distinctly remember on my straight leg deadlift, I was doing 220, and I was really struggling to get past 5 or 6 reps every week. I was like, I just can't beat it.
I remember you posting about it.
And then I had the deload. Then I had the D volume, where I was instructed to go, you know, less intensity. The first like full week back at intensity, I fucking flew through it. 8 reps, and it was easy. I was like,
I guess with those
wow.
like deload/D volumes where you're still doing the movement, you maintain and this might be some jargon, you maintain the neurological connection to that movement. Whereas normally what we do is we take a week off, and then you come back in, you're like, fuck, it feels ropey again. You keep it there. You that movement pattern is like nailed still.
Yeah.
But you're just like massively you're basically offloading, and then like you go back in, the movement pattern's already sharp.
Yeah.
It's not like rusty again. So you don't need that 1-2 weeks to get back into it, and then you're like, right, I can fucking hit the ground running.
Yeah, so that like I say, that was the moment I was like, okay, I'm bought into this. And then again, like last week when I've seen the progress, I'm thinking, yeah, okay, like this shit works. And that's actually what Joe said again. He said, you know, we've had this 12 weeks now. We can see you respond to this. Like now we really push it on. So I'm excited to get stuck into this next block of training. I said to you, there's some like fucking bodyweight squats in there, some funky shit in there. So
I love it.
It'd be interesting to do I'll do some leg day reels, and people would be like, what the fuck is this guy doing? But I can tell you from actually my time in functional, bodyweight squats are no joke. That's some serious metabolite build up. So
For sure.
we'll see.
That's really interesting. It's really interesting. I think it definitely piqued my interest watching you make that transition. And one thing you said, I think maybe a couple of days ago when we were talking, we quote unquote resensitize to drugs. You know, we come off, we resensitize to food, we deload food. Why don't we do that training?
Yeah.
We just like, we've kind of adopted this, led by JP, and like it fucking works. Look at JP, it works, right?
Yeah, of course.
But we've hit the hammer on the head. Like, doesn't matter cutting, dieting, it's just all out.
Yeah.
At all times. There's
Brilliant.
never any pull back, push up, build back. And I think I was like, a little slide penny drop that had already dropped in the past, but really been nudged. You know, those little arcade machines. It was like just tipping over.
Yeah.
I think you just like
Fallen.
you knocked off, and I thought, it just made my cogs turn. Thought, I've been doing this for a while. And I am a little bit sick of it. Like, I loved the change from Cal to John, and now that change wasn't huge, so I'm very, very used to that change. Like, it's not super novel, and I'm kind of like, right, I can do some other funky shit here. So I think, luckily, I can talk to John about this type of thing. Like, he probably wouldn't mind me throwing in a few bits and bobs. It just wouldn't be as programmed and as on point as what you're doing. So it definitely piqued my interest. And for everyone thinking that, like, listening out there as well, like, how many years are you into your career? And like, you've just like not like taken a right turn, but you're taking a big old turn differently in training, and you've gone my training philosophy has changed.
Yeah.
It's like, you can get to any part in your career, any level in your career, and go, oh shit, I was missing something here.
Yeah, that's all been the thing that's really like, I think it's the same thing where the penny dropped for me was like, yeah, why are we doing it like this? And also, I think, I would say that at our strongest, we're pretty strong when it comes in a lot of lifts, and that has its drawbacks, man. Like your body starts to feel real beat.
Oh yeah.
End of off season, you're feeling beat, and I remember like thinking, is there a better way of doing this? And that's hard for me to let go of at times, I think, because I feel like I should be lifting more on this, or I should be doing better, and actually kind of have to drop that, because actually I'm not a weightlifter. It doesn't actually matter. I'm still, by the way, I'm still strong, like still lifting decent load, but I think I don't ever touch a 6 rep range now. Maybe on straight leg deads is the only thing I do, and that's kind of that's my ego piece. Everything else is like minimum 8, but mostly 10 to 12, 10 to 15. And that was actually a change I noticed with John as well. I remember because I worked with John for like a month before all of this, like way back, even when I was still natty, and I expected quite a big change, and I was like, oh, it's kind of the same, just maybe another set here and 10 to 12. But yeah, I think from a fatigue management perspective, that's probably another thing we should touch on when it comes to prep. Like and I'm almost chomping at the bit to start prep with Joe and start feeling like shit to see what changes he makes. Because man, I've seen my strength dip off in prep so badly.
For sure.
So badly, and I think that ultimately that is what leads to losing tissue for sure.
No, I agree.
So I'm looking forward to that, because you finish your off season, you're your strongest ever, doing some real stupid shit, like 6 plate hacks for 6 reps, grinding, feeling awful, like doesn't feel great at all. You're not going to uphold that. Like your body weight goes down, your energy goes down, your joints start to feel worse. Like who are you to think you're going to keep that up? It's not going to happen. So I'm really excited to see kind of how that is managed as we go into prep. And these are all the things really that it's definitely the training that has really impacted my like coaching style as well now, which is cool. And I think, I say this quite often, like I think that's where we should set ourselves apart as coaches. Like there's a lot of good coaches out there now, a lot of good coaches, very, very, very competitive industry. We're probably, if you're well educated, if you're in the right crop of coaches, you're probably getting the same sort of drug protocols now, probably getting the same sort of nutrition protocols now. Yeah. Everyone knows about
that's very true.
When to do a refeed,
very, very true.
When to do a mini cut. Everyone knows you need to start a prep in a good enough, and the list goes on. But actually, if you can be at the forefront of that training stuff and that training knowledge, and that is the stuff that I take the most joy in and the most fun in.
Yeah, same as me.
Like, I kind of say this to my team a lot. Like, I see myself almost as like the canary. The canary that goes down into the mines, and I'm trying to find shit out with my nose and like find out what's going on. Is there gas leaking somewhere, and can I stop it so that I can?
Am I dead yet?
I can then apply it to my team, and there will be problems for sure that people will face that I haven't, but I feel like I've faced a lot of issues, man, in this game, and I'm still just trying to work it out, as we all are. And if you're sat there thinking, my training's good, I just need help with some nutrition, I can tell you, man, your training ain't good. Or it might be good, but trust me, there's levels and levels and levels and levels above. So yeah, it's been wicked, man. I'm feeling excited.
Yeah, good.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, I think it'll be a different prep for both of us. I think.
Oh, for sure.
Obviously, going through all the J3U and understanding how John's mindset as well. I think there'll be a lot. While the training might be a little bit similar to what I've been doing, I think the principles of prep, backing off, reducing fatigue, not hammering things, I think will lend itself nicely. Especially like when you've been shredded before, you got a lot of muscle mass. Like getting lean probably isn't quote unquote that difficult. Like you can do it because you've done it, and like you don't need to hit the hammer on the head for you just got to give yourself enough time and then come in fresh. Whereas I think the sometimes like when you're getting lean for the first time, you got a little bit less muscle mass and it's harder to do it. You gotta go to that place. Like you have to eat a little amount of food and you have to do a lot of cardio at some point. But we're at that kind of place where we've got enough drugs on our hand, we've got enough muscle on our hand, we've got enough experience and time. We might need a lot less of that hammering and a lot more of that nurturing kind of going forward. So
yeah, man.
I'm excited for that.
100%. And again, like it all, and I said this to Joe on that first call, I said like, bro, my main goal this year, I want to enjoy myself. I want to get to my shows and want to do more shows. Because you remember, when I kind of called time on that season, I did the Finland show, which obviously just fucking absolutely crushed me. And that's a huge motivation for me not to be in that position ever again. But then, I did Tampa because I was there and I felt like I had to, and I had planned Texas as well. But I just wasn't enjoying myself, man. I was killing myself.
I remember.
All ends up like, I didn't enjoy it. I was almost like a prisoner in my own head, like fighting with myself every day. And I was like, this is not healthy. Like, let me pull the plug. So I don't want to get to that point this year. I want to get to a point where I stop because it's like the right thing to do, or whatever that is, not because I'm not having fun anymore. Like, and I said that to Joe, and he was like, let's do it. So should be good, man. I'm excited.
Nice. Yeah, good.
Should be good.
Where do you want to go?
Where do we want to go? I'd like to actually understand a little bit more about your time with John, because we've spoken hella a lot about mine there, but you've obviously got how many months? Well, 10.
42 weeks.
10 months in with John. So what was your decision to go for him? What's been maybe in the back of your mind? Maybe some positives, some negatives. What's been the biggest learning? And
yeah. So I think a big thing for me was needing a little bit of a change, and not necessarily. I guess I gotta say, I'm not necessarily hitting the mark that often. I think I can think of the 10, 12 shows I did with Cal. There was a few that I fucked up. Didn't listen to the instructions properly. Maybe in those early days, you eat a little bit too much when you're carb loading, and you think, "Fuck it, it's peak week. I can do a couple more," and you come in a little bit softer. But more so when things got very serious in the pro shows, like I can think of like two or three shows where it was nailed. But the other like 5 or 6, especially more recently, I think it was really, really hard to say that we nailed that look.
which was the ones that you say you nailed?
Portugal, I was on the fucking money.
Yeah.
I remember, I think even you texted me about my abs that one day. I was like, I've not had abs since like that. They were wrapped, full wrapped. I was bursting full. I was dry as a bone. My back was unbelievable. My midsection was unbelievable. I was just looking at myself like, this is it. I'm ascending. And the show after that, we just replicated it, and I did nail it again, but at like 4 or 5 p.m. And I went on stage at 11. So it kind of 11 p.m. So it got away from me, but it was good enough. I won the overall the amateur Olympia. So that was good. I was like, I'm fucking here again. Great, perfect. So that was 2, and then maybe I think Vancouver, I was super full, and sometimes it was like, let's just get you really full, see how you look. I'm like, yeah, but I kind of want to like just come in perfectly, So I was super full in Vancouver. Tampa, I was right in the middle. I thought it was a really good look.
I'm glad you said that.
I got first call outs, and I was really happy with that look, actually. I think I should have been leaner, and I could have been leaner. I always could have been leaner. And then Texas, it just kind of got away from me. But I think even in Tampa, like, I was just getting pushed a little bit too hard with food. The timings between the 2 weeks, it didn't really add up. It was like, 1,000 carb refeed, 1,000 carb refeed, day off, compete. Low for 3 days, 1,000 carb refeed, 1,000 carb refeed, low, back to competing. I thought that's 4,000 over 2 weeks, like carbs. I'm like, I don't know. And then actually, 2 rows last year, it wasn't horrendous. I was all right. I was pretty good, but I definitely was still a little bit off the mark. And I knew that I just needed something a little bit different. And I've done a lot of, I think even before you'd kind of looked at Joe as a coach, like you had done the searching. Who is it? Is it going to be Cuba? Is it going to be John Jewett? Is it going to be, who else is there? I was like, Hani, I messaged Hani. It obviously didn't open the message. I messaged Hani. I was like, I need to find someone who is at least on the same level or level up as Cal, because Cal is still one of the best coaches in the game.
Yeah.
It had to be a level up. There's no way I was going to just go to someone else and come off worse. So I had to be a level up, and it was right around the time he was doing seminars with John, and I thought, all right, let me get into J3. I love the way he thinks. He's a lot more. I think he would be measured always.
Logical.
Yeah. I don't think there would ever be like, let's fucking wing this in and see what happens type of thing. It would be like, no, we're going to do this because it works. Not that that's a detriment, because sometimes that pulls out the bag. For example, in Texas, I was largely overfed, but there was something wrong with my water. I'm like, what's going on here? Cal looked at me. He's like, you need this, and this. Boom. And I'm like, cool. You've absolutely nailed it perfectly. But I don't think I would have been in that position with John. I think he would have just been a bit more measured at all times. I think his dial doesn't move like up and down too much. It's just like right in the middle. So I knew I needed something different. So I had that call with Cal, and I was like, man, it was like a breakup, man. Been with Cal for 5 years. I don't think he had expected it either.
5, fuck.
And I called him the first time. He didn't pick up. He was in a meeting, but my heart was just. And I'm like, I'm gonna tremble, and I'm gonna talk to him. I knew I was gonna tremble if I talked to him. Fortunately, he didn't pick up, so I managed to like calm down. He's probably laughing, thinking this because we're good friends. Managed to calm down, and called him up. I said, "That's just, I think I'm done, mate." And I just said that. I kind of panicked because I think I'm done. He's like, "With what?" Like he didn't really get it. I was like, "With coaching. I think I need to move on."
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be like, "Oh, I've got money issues," or got to do some stuff on my own. I was like, no, I'm going to go with John Jett. That's kind of what I said to him. And he was perfect with it. I think he completely understood the reasoning, completely understood where I was going to go from it. And I needed that fresh look. So, a lot more measured since then. A lot less. I don't know how I feel about it truly, even after 42 weeks. So I was very, very lean. I was still managing my post-prep windows really well. I think maybe I was about 4 weeks post-show when I went with John. And I stayed lean for a real long time. He was like, let's just hold this, you look good. I'll hold this, you look good. And just kind of pushed me up slowly. And
I remember reading your things, you were like starving, like still for a long time.
Yeah.
It was good for you though, man.
Yeah. No, I did enjoy being that hungry, for sure. And especially when you're on TRT, like, it doesn't make a big difference. You might as well be hungry and lean rather than like not hungry and like just get fat real quick and then your appetite goes. The first push was real nice. So it was about 18 weeks. It was very much baseline volume, as I'd been training before. And like volume did go up pretty high. Like he really did start to push things that I was progressing on, because I was following it like to the dial. So he was using the app that you could track on Kahuna. So he could see all my volume. He could see that I could keep pushing on those certain things. So that kept me really, really intrigued. Body weight crept up pretty well. I was like went from 112 to like 123, it's about 11 kilos over that time. Not quite the 20 kilos that I usually do, which I was pretty happy with.
Yeah.
Because I was big, I was strong, still a few veins in my legs, and then kind of appetite ran out. And but over that time, like things were real good. Like very prompt, very concise. Picked up on things that perhaps were overlooked with a coach of 100 people. I think he definitely has like a confined amount of people that he can look at, and he gives you a little bit more of a scope to look at. I know you mentioned Joe has a confined amount of people that he works with as well, and I think when you got that smaller amount, and that's something that I've learned with my coaching, is I've had a much smaller amount of people that I work with. You can really like get into like how they feel, how they look, how the training is going. So had some real good progressions on volume, which I really, really enjoyed. Got it pretty high, deloaded. Came off cycle, got my appetite back for a couple months, and I think like a few things slipped through the net at that point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is fine because people are human, people are innocent, and I've let things slip through before, for sure, with some of my clients. So I just mentioned that, and he was like so receptive. Wasn't like worried about saying anything. It was more just because I was back in Dubai. I got to wait a whole day for a reply, right? Because he's in Texas. So it's like 9 hours behind. If I check in the morning, he's not replying to me until the evening his time. That's like the next day for me. So if he missed a point in my check-in, which could have been misunderstood or blah 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 blah, or even if he's asking another question, it's like another day. And I was just like, we need to figure a way around this. Anyway, I mentioned that to him. We figured a way around it, and since then, obviously, it's been absolutely perfect. Back into a push session, push up, I should say. The last 7 weeks, I'm kind of week 7, and it's been much more conservative this time in push-ups. Like I've gone from like 117 to like, I was a bit heavier today because my growth hormone went up, but like 120. It's like 3 kilos in like 7 weeks. Pretty conservative. And there's parts of me that think I'm leaving progression on the table in terms of how fast my body weight goes up. Part of me thinks, should I be, and I've voiced all this to him, and he very much reasons it out. It's just a blanket you're putting on, you got to take off more. And sometimes, you know, like when I do have that off-plan meal and it puts me up a kilo on the scale and I go back into the gym, I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of what I needed. But every day, but I wonder whether if I wasn't as lean, I wasn't as conservative, whether that would even do that. And I was just blasting it all the time, would I be as receptive to that food? So part of me sometimes thinks I could push a little bit harder with body weight. Seeing you go up to 132, I'm like, I need to be fucking at 130 then. I've always been 3 or 4 kilos behind you. I'm like, right, let me get to like 127, 126ish. That's what the devil on my shoulder tells me. But I just follow the plan. So a little bit more conservative on this push up. I think you'll probably remain that. I got like 10 weeks left, maybe 11 weeks left. So if by the measures we've been going, I should be like 1, 2, 3, 4-ish. Nothing crazy.
And then with 15 to take off.
Yeah, and then it'll be 15 to take off. But I still think I'm not going to be anywhere near the cap, personally. I don't think I'll be there. I think I'll still be like 106, 107-ish.
That would be a big jump though, right? What was his last stage weight?
Oh, wow. I was pretty full at Texas, like 105 at Texas, but like I was watery and heavy.
And you'll be leaner this time. You have to be.
I'll be much leaner. So yeah, I think I'll be under. But really, you know what? That weight cap, like he might be 110 or whatever, but you probably want to be like 112 and then pull down into it, like because that's what those guys are doing. So there's still going to be another 5-6 kilos of room to grow, but overall, like I'm real happy. I think the change was needed. I think the least that I can do is go through an entire off season, 2 off seasons, and an entire prep, and just look back at it, see the progress, understand, take a measured approach, and then go from there.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think it's the whole thing with Cal so funny as well. I'm glad you brought up like the name, because otherwise it sounds like we're just skirting around the topic. My end with Cal was much easier because I was stepping away from bodybuilding, and honestly that was a massive part of me. It was like, oh, I could just go back to Cal, just because of like what we had, like, you know, when we went out for the camps, like not even camps, were just like, going out to his house, and then, you know, obviously he's out in America, but yeah, it's I think there's definitely something in like getting a new approach, and for me, just such a polarizing one. Like it's very, very different. Yeah, like Joe mentioned to me his client number limits, and he kind of mentions on his check-ins, like, you know, I like to really dig into it, as you can tell. So, and I'm like, yeah, you fucking do, man. Like, as I say, his approach has been entirely different, but yeah, it was a fucking good few years with Cal, gotta say, man.
Good few years. I often see it, and I think, be good to do this with Cal, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
you know, like, it'd be good to like just get that Olympia that go from start to finish with him. It would be, and it was a really hard decision. I still think about it every now and again, but there is there's no growth without change, right?
No, 100%. Like, as I say, if you just carry on just pounding that same approach, like, you know, it works for some people, and it might work for us to a certain point. But like you say, been in the game a long time, and for me it was like, I'm gonna need something different here, something extra, something that I've maybe not done before, rather than just doing the same thing over and over again, and smash myself into the ground. So yeah, I mean, I can't even talk on Cal's methods now, because I don't know if they've changed, but I know that he's, you know, as fucking busy as ever. So, and I'm sure there'll be some more incredible results coming out this year. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the both of us. I think I don't want to like promise this to myself, because I've done this sort of stuff before, but I can imagine the prep will be a lot less stressful. I think that's how I feel, and that's not even because of Cal. That's because of all the changes I've made, like in my own head, in my own body. Like, I think I'll feel like I belong there, which is, you know, and that will reduce the stress. But in terms of bodyweight, man, like I know you just mentioned a few kilos behind me or whatever, or should you be at 130? But firstly, you've maintained a lot leaner than me, I'd say, throughout, and maybe now we're on par. But I've just dropped 6 kilos from my heaviest weight. So I've obviously done, you know, the fat loss over the last 3 weeks, 3.5, 4 weeks or whatever. 6 kilos has come off. So now I'm sitting at 126, and you're probably still a bit leaner than me.
Still 6 kilos.
Fucking yeah, but like there's gonna be so much to come off, man.
It's just like one of the innate feelings inside me, and I think we probably always felt that, like
100%. Because when prep comes around, I'm always like, fuck, this guy's leaner than me.
Yeah, it's always the same. It's always the same.
I remember that day, man. It's like printed in my brain when we were in shreds, man. And I was like, so what calories are you on? You're like 2,900. And I was like, oh my God. I'm heavier than this guy. Supposed to be like going into classic while he's going to men's physique, and yet I'm on like 2,100. I was thinking, this ain't right. But that's just the differences.
Yeah, that's just the brain load we're dealt with.
Yeah.
But like, there's such a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, there's the shit, he's this shit, but there's so much of me that is motivated by that. So much for me.
I wrote
It's
in my,
motivated by that.
I was journaling this morning, and one of my gratitudes was like grateful to have a frenemy in you. Like definitely more friend than enemy, but like it's nice to have that person that like super close friend, but also able to help me push forward. And I know that's reciprocated. It's just fucking sick. So
Yeah, no, I agree.
definitely feel more like teammates. But
Yeah, I agree. I think it's pretty unique as well. You don't get too many people that are like real similar in height, in strength. Like, you know, we've been apart. We haven't trained together for I don't know how many months / year maybe.
yeah.
And we're like this close in strength still.
Yeah,
I think one of us going to get an edge from the other. Is like,
Oh man,
and I just remember, like, you know, like if someone would have a good sleep and a good day, and you'd come in and you'd fucking put 5 extra kilos on that fucking OHP we did in Crayford, and I think, how's he done that this week? I beat him last week. just like to and from, we were just like torturing ourselves. But you know what? Like, it only made us better. It will only continue to make us better. I think, especially when we can come at it and sit down at a table and be friends with it. It's not like it's zero hostility at all. It's completely love always. So it's certainly gonna help us long term.
Yeah, it's so good. And actually, I got to say, like that picture that Loki took the other day, and we were taking. I was just like, I've now set it as my screensaver because I feel very proud of it now. It's really set a bit of a standard for me. Like I was like, wow, that's a fucking sick shot. Like, feel proud of what I've done, proud of what we've done. You know, I go back and I think about a few of the occasions when we've like trained together or that have been like slightly transformative from like a relationship perspective. Like I remember when we first trained at that Surrey gym. I think you just started anabolics, and I was about Hammer Strength one, Warehouse is called, Warehouse gym.
Oh yeah, the Warehouse. Yeah,
and we didn't really know each other that well back then, but like there's just these little moments, and then like obviously we travelled quite a lot together competing and stayed in Airbnbs and, you know, dropped each other off to tanning and stuff, and I was like, oh, it's just fucking sick. So to see it continue to grow is like so cool. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for both of us, and like I say, excited just to share it. And in terms of like hostility or competitiveness, like I can tell you what the worst scenario will be. The worst scenario will be that one of us does well and the other one doesn't, and then the other one is miserable and the other one wants to celebrate. That would be the only bad scenario. If we're both shit, I can cope with that, and if we both fucking win, like let's go. It will just be that, and it's not a jealousy or an envy thing. It will just be annoyed that like one of us will be on this level and the other one will be like, that didn't go so well, or it wasn't great. But like I say, man, I have utmost confidence in us this year. And we continue to be as similar as our initials, so I'm excited to push it on. Is there anything else you want to like cover, or has we got some questions?
Yeah, we got questions.
Looking at the time, we've got. What did we start at 3? Just after.
We can do 20 minutes of questions. I just got to connect my phone to my other Wi-Fi.
I'm just gonna, while we're here, and I'm gonna look direct down the camera because unfortunately Josh slipped out that he used the K word just in Kunis. I just want to give you a little shout out while you're listening. This episode is not sponsored by OneFit, but to any coaches who are struggling with their platforms, having downtime, not enjoying using sheets potentially, take a little look at OneFit. Okay, OneFit UK on Instagram. Take a little look.
I do also use that. I just mean because John coaches me on it.
Yeah, Josh is using it as a client. I used it as a client before and I didn't like it myself, but that's why we use OneFit now.
Does it feel like the good old days? Everyone's back on and smashing it. I think he means back on gear.
Yes, it does. It does feel like the good old days, but better, I think, yeah. From a bodybuilding perspective, it feels like the great old days. Like, I think as we've just said many, many times, I feel very positive about this year, so yeah.
No, I think it's going to be good. I think
It's an easy one.
I think about that one off season when we did, well, I guess it was the off season Dominoes before. I don't know if you did Dominoes, but I always did Dominoes for every leg day. Literally every leg day without fail. And just the sheer brutality of it. Me and you going head to head on everything, and Tom knowing how far behind he was and trying to like close that gap.
Yeah.
Like always just like moving ahead. That was some good times. That
was like Tom's last season, your pro card season, and my first pro. Yeah,
peak BBC.
Yeah, fucking now. When the BBC was announced.
Yeah. I guess we kind of touched this. Do you guys feel like you could compete in the same show and be okay losing to the other?
Yeah, I would have no issue losing to Josh. It would just be my own like disappointment with you know what goes on. Like if I'm in the first call outs and Josh is at one place ahead of me or two places ahead of me, like, I don't fucking care. But if I'm in the third call outs, I'm going to be pissed because I'm in the third call outs. Do you know what I mean? That's how I feel.
No, I think I completely agree. I think what's more important or most important is just being content with like your own performance or my own performance, at least. I think I've got expectations, but I've probably got a little bit less than you. I don't know about first call outs and things. I'm more just like, I want to like look like I don't fucking stand out like a sore thumb. Don't think I will. But I just want to be able to go and hold my own. Like when they go side pose, back, blah, 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 I'm like, yep, boom, boom, boom. I know exactly what I'm doing. Feel like I've done this before.
Yeah.
And just make myself proud. And yeah, like I want my physique to be. I want it to stand out. I want to be the biggest, but I want it to stand out. But like, yeah, this guy's got a big future. Where Joe places, higher the better. Literally, you know, we can go 1-2, 2-1, like whatever. Like
let's go.
Fucking double Dave JV. That'd be good times. Good times. Here's one for you, because I don't do them. Any thoughts on ice baths, recovery, health, or overall health?
Yeah, I actually do have some thoughts on this. Obviously, my only experience of this was when I was out in Bali, and I did it every day, and that was really.
Don't we know it?
Don't you fucking know it? I did it every day. Loki pulled me up on that actually on like day one. I was like,
Did he?
Better get used to this.
Just like how if you don't post it.
Yeah, exactly. My thoughts are in my, and this is completely anecdotal. I think that the mental.
That's what I was going to think.
The mental like response, the mental impact from them, how positive that is, will probably go close to outweighing a lot of things that inflammation. Like, I think when you're in a position where you train as we do, you take the drugs that we do, you're in a surplus. Yeah. I'm sorry, but like, if that gives me peace and solace and like a fucking fantastic start to my day, I think it discounts all the stress from everything else in my life, and therefore it probably plays a large part in pushing me forwards. So I think the merit is in finding something very uncomfortable to do first thing.
I agree.
In terms of like an optimal bodybuilding approach, maybe just stick it to your rest days.
You should get one when you get here.
I'm gonna sign up to. I've been pondering on it. I don't like the little cardio gyms that are in the apartments. I find them quite annoying. Like, I quite like to get up and go and do cardio. So I probably will sign up to a little gym that has a little like sauna and ice bath in. One thing I will say on this topic though, and I sent out an email about this week, I cannot believe that every bodybuilding coach, you know, health conscious person in bodybuilding is talking about, you know, taking citrus bergamot, doing cardio, keeping a low fat diet to protect your heart, and not talking about getting in a sauna.
Yeah.
Fuck me. I watched one video this week. So we did sauna every day for 90 minutes. And I was like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we in here? I think they're good for you. I don't know why. Couldn't work it out. So I went and looked into the literature. Oh my God, man. The benefits of even like 4 sessions of 20 minutes in the sauna
a
week.
Crazy.
But it's like a dose response. The more you do, the better it is. Like brain health, depression, Alzheimer's, heat shock proteins, which are basically what cause all this. The impact of sauna basically mimics doing light cardiovascular exercise, and cardiovascular exercise is the best thing we can do for our, you know, long-term health. So fuck off the ice bath, go and get uncomfortable in a sauna, you know, a few times a week, 3-4 times a week, and especially if you're using anabolics. The health benefits are mind-blowing. So yeah.
I agree. Shout out Joe Rogan. I want to get one of those little you get everything in a tent now. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Little garden tent.
I think Louis got one.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen him. Yeah, and he's sat in his living room. I think he's just dripping out.
Yeah.
I guess this one's kind of irrelevant because we are different in this aspect, I guess. Can you make the case for being in a gaining phase? No. Can you make the case for pushing body fat to much higher in a gaining phase? Ultimately saying, like, how fat should you get? Because I think, like, I'm much leaner than I've ever been in any gaining phase. Like, I've gone from much fatter to this to shredded in 10 weeks. So if I wanted to, I could probably drop the hammer and get it done in 10 weeks. Not that I want to do that at all. I'd say your body fat probably got a little bit higher. That's pretty fair to say. Like, where'd you fall on that? Because like I said there, I was kind of unsure because I'm so used to pushing things so hard in that area. I wonder whether I'm leaving anything on the table.
This is an interesting one I think my perspective has changed on quite a lot over the years. I think number one is to understand that when you're at the level of like where we are at, every off season will get a bit leaner because you are just over time changing your body composition. You by definition carry more muscle and therefore carry less fat. Your body is more expensive to run. It has a bigger engine, all that good stuff. How far would I push it? I think it's, it depends on what your scenario is. Let's take, say, a 20-year-old Natty
it's important to know.
who's like, moderate body fat. I think get stuck into a gaining phase. Don't go fat and soft and like uncomfortable, but like it's okay to not be able to probably see your abs, providing your training performance continues to push forwards. I think as you get maybe older, enhanced, your risk profile runs up. Probably not that smart anymore to get too soft. I think when you're at that level, you probably want to stop at the point where you can no longer like see your abs. I think that's probably gone a bit too far. But I think when you're younger and natural, I think there is every reason to push it up
for sure.
Just to get heavier and therefore get stronger and therefore build more muscle. But just make sure you've got time to take it all off again, or take it all off in phased approaches. I think the mistakes we made when you get too fat and then you have to take it off in one stint.
Yeah,
because you will lose tissue doing that.
Yeah, you'll lose a lot because you've got to dig harder, dig for longer, not be as fresh, curious. Like you'd start prioritizing cardio over training, and you just start to waste away. And I think the older I've got, the bigger I've got, the higher my metabolism is. Like it's just I can't even get fat.
It's quite hard to get fat.
Literally can't even get fat. Like I could probably eat 5,000 calories, but like for me, I don't have the biggest appetite. That's quite hard. I got to about 4,600 in Canada. Appetite couldn't get too much more. I could obviously force them and gag it, but at that point, what inflammation are you causing by gagging on food every day for a month? I got to like 123 and a half with abs, with veins in my legs. I like couldn't really get fat. So I think the bell curve, right? You get even less body fat the bigger you get ultimately, because you probably just can't quite do it. But there's so much merit in moving weight, right?
Yeah.
Leverage.
Yeah.
I guess we touched upon this a little bit from the last podcast to now. What's each of your favorite changes in growth? We'll just do one. What's your most favorite most favorite change that you've made, if any?
Most favorite change. I will have to say, I listened to this podcast on I was listening to it. I only got like sort of 20 minutes in on the drive over here, and on that last podcast, I think I said I was good. But YouTube boys were like, oh, finally he's good. Probably wasn't that good actually. I think I was struggling a lot myself back then.
What was that?
2022. So the end of
December 2022.
Yeah. I think I was like emotionally like in the bin pretty much. Psychologically not in a good place. So my biggest change has been improving to a level where I'm in a good spot, and then also meeting my now fiance.
Soon to be wife.
Shout out wifey. So 2023 was all about her really. That was a year dedicated to her. So whilst it's been a lot of physical bodybuilding growth, like
I remember you saying you're going to take 23 off regardless to go to some weddings, and now you're going to have your own fucking wedding.
I'm real, man. Let's go, baby.
I think for me, like towards the end of that year, the PPC like definitely had a big mental impact. All three of us, I think there's no one's going to hide it. We don't think we have hide it. So I was definitely on the low end as well. For me, that carried on hard, like for a long time. So there was a lot of like change made, and I realized that it was that was like stopping me. It was I was letting it take over me. I was succumbing to it. I was relatively miserable about it all. Pretty much every day, I would do things that would remind myself of the position I was in. Just as I've talked about this on my podcast and YouTube. I just like dropped off, stopped putting effort into Wanamar, stopped putting as much effort into coaching. Both of them like over halved in revenue, whatever you want to call it. Went to Canada, everything dropped off in terms of social media because I was getting shown to Canadians, not the UK, and I couldn't work out why at the time. And all I would do was complain about it. And all I would do was wake up, oh, nothing's changed, boom, bad mood all day, right? That was what kept me there. Was not like. Not acting on it and saying, like, well, nothing's going to change unless you do, right? So it was kind of learning that was the case. And then towards the end of Canada, which was a long time, like May, June, July, August, September, probably like end of September, I kind of enough was enough. I'd felt bad for so long. I thought I need to do something. No one's coming to help me. No one's coming to help me. Like everyone's trying, but it's not working. So it was me that had to come save myself. And made those changes, just started doing a little bit more, started acting like I wanted things to change, whether that be through social media, one of our coaching, started being the person I wanted to be a little bit more, and realizing that you're not going to change unless something actually changes. And, you know, even since then, I guess it's only been 4 or 5 months, but I've had things that could have easily knocked me back down into that position. But I'd already learned that hard lesson. I wasn't going to let it knock me off again. I needed to kind of get back onto it. So
Mental growth.
exactly. Ben Bray, shout out Ben. What do you enjoy the most in order? Bodybuilding, coaching, content creation.
In that order. Bodybuilding,
Yeah.
coaching,
Yeah.
content creation.
Yeah, I think those have changed for me. Number one, bodybuilding has always been there. I think the content creation and coaching has changed. I think content creation was like my first thing.
Yeah.
I used to love it. I used to
Yeah,
obsess
yeah,
over
of
it.
course.
Used to obsess over it. And then as my need to do it has kind of like come back a little bit in terms of like, obviously Lokes creates it for me. I do the content, but he creates it. It's definitely got leaning more into the coaching. So it's kind of like in order of like fulfillment almost now. Like how fulfilling is it to, maybe back in the day it was quite fulfilling to get like 5,000 likes on a photo, loads of comments. Like, yeah, it's kind of fulfilling, but not as fulfilling as completing a dream of bodybuilding or changing someone's life. Right? So it's kind of how it's gone for me.
Yeah, that one's quite easy for me. I think because in terms of like when I put it in order, things that I think come easy to me, I'm very, very confident in my coaching ability. And last year was like a fantastic year for putting people on stage and hopefully helping a few people change their lives and realize their competing dreams. And we'll have another one of those this year. And again, bodybuilding, like that's just a passion, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like that is, no one's paying me to do that. No one's asking me to do that.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that. I just do it because I fucking love it. And then the content creation is just fucking stress, mate. Fuck Instagram, basically. to be honest. Yeah.
It is very stressful.
But prep's coming up, man. Content creation might
Yeah.
just creep up there and
Yeah.
start getting all that fulfillment.
Yeah, that short-term satisfaction. I'm brushing over the slightly lamer questions. No offense to anyone who doesn't get their questions answered.
Ask better questions.
Yeah. Someone's asked what my teeth procedure was called. Veneers, mate. Clean ones. You know what? I can't bring myself to ask any of these questions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it depends how bodybuilder we want to get.
Let's have a look at them. Let's have a look. Maybe I can
There's not too many of them. Shout out to all the people that don't ask me questions anymore. That's Louis taking them for himself.
Mezzo style we've done, that's fine.
Yeah, some of them we touched upon.
Well, that's not a bad one. On 6K cows on bulk now, any tips to get food in easy when it goes up again? First things first, I would ask you, like, why are you eating 6,000 calories unless you're like, you know, how heavy are you?
I've seen some people though. I've seen that guy. He lives here, Lewis. He is massive, to be fair. But he eats like 8K a day, 9K a day.
For sure, like, some people need some, but I think in, like...
Should we click on his profile?
Yeah,
and see it?
Nathan.
Click on it. What's his name?
He looks like a family man with, like, 2 babies and a dog. So I have to wonder, like, why do you have to eat 6K cows? But to give you some tips, I'll give you my biggest tip for getting calories in that Joe taught me this year. It's a little something called Medjool dates. Wow. Get the dates in, my son. Dates, raisins, dry fruit.
Yeah, one that John gave me was naked juices.
Yeah.
Because they're just fruit,
Yeah.
like pressed, like no additives, no sugars or anything.
I've been on those smoothies for a long time. They're pressed juices, they're good. Pressed juices, dates, and yeah, just keep your food like relatively clean as well. I know that sounds really bad, like when you're trying to get 6K in, but if you start eating shit, it's gonna fuck your digestion up.
Creeps in quick. That was the biggest lesson that I learned. I used to do what's it called? Stan Efferding's diet, the vertical diet.
Oh yeah, you did
I
that.
used to rinse that last year. That really worked. That was just beef, carrots, rice, 4 times a day, and you put beef stock in it. I'd have 250 grams of dry rice 4 times a day, a kilo of rice.
And it was easy to get in.
Just bang it in. I used to be like hypo after like an hour.
Fucking hell,
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, the rest of those questions we can miss.
Cool. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Unreal. We will I think we're going to aim to get another one in.
Yeah.
Definitely at least
Yeah,
one.
if you guys want to see it, hear it, tag us in your stories. Tag me and Joe in your stories. Tag Off the Cuff.
Yeah.
Just so we know you want to hear it. We're still going to do it. But even if, just so we know you're going to hear it, we'll get one more in before you go, which is this 15th.
Yeah.
11 days. We've got 11 days to get one more, and you're back at the end of the month.
Yeah.
And then we've got March, April, and I'm off in May. So we got like, we could get 7. We could get a season in.
There's another season in here, boys.
Yeah.
There's
We're
another
back,
season.
baby.
We're back, baby. Okay. Lovely. Thank you for watching.
Cheers, everybody.
We had a great time. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Wow, we're back. Fucking back.